I think there's a good thesis to be done here if there's the interest level, but at least I was able to figure out some of this connection between southeastern Michigan, Detroit essentially, and St. Louis, um, with Ingalls and Darby, and then ultimately in St. Louis, Schofield launches out of there. Of course, interestingly enough, Peoria is halfway between. Um, and my ordination credentials, I have an OPC friend, by the way. The way people refer to their minority friend. I have an OPC friend. Some of my best friends are OPC people, but I'm in the EPC. There's a whole story there, but the EPC started in 81, and I definitely remember encountering churches from the Northern Presbyterian Church that were distinctly dispensational. I mean, good, solid in terms of the proclaiming Christ and belief in the inerrancy of Scripture and so forth. But I realized there was a whole family out there. Now, what I didn't tie in, and I don't have the background to do it at this point, but there were certain sympathies, even as the RPCES, the Reformed Presbyterian Church Evangelical Synod, with its insistence on premillennialism. There's certain affinities to dispensationalism within that movement too. And when the RPCES eventually makes its way into the merger with the PCA, all that's to say, even within the PCA, perhaps at least in a number of years ago, you had people who more naturally thought in somewhat dispensational ways. My colleague John Meether actually has written a piece on this. He's been challenged by my wonderful history professor Will Barker on that point, but you certainly have, like in the Bible Presbyterian Church even today, what I would say is clearly identifiable as dispensationalism. Kissinger's survey of the history of interpretation of the Sermon on the Mount, it's a scholarly work on the history of interpreting the Sermon on the Mount. The chapter exemplifying dispensationalism, his chapter on dispensationalism uses Donald Gray Barnhouse as its exemplar.
Wow.
And Barnhouse was the pastor of the 10th Presbyterian Church in Philadelphia, prior to Dr. Boyce. So that I remember when I ran into that chapter thinking, wow, there clearly is a dispensational thread within Northern Presbyterianism. And by the way, a great place in the Bible to go to sort out whether you are or not a dispensationalism is, I think, Sermon on the Mount is a good place to go.
Sure.
There are other places as well, but is that an ethic for the people of God today? Or is it an ethic for a future millennial kingdom when the church is raptured out of the world?